Pete Fletzer, Star Wars nerd. Around the galaxy, his podcast is supreme. He interviews authors and actors and more. His network of shows is beyond the blast door. He posts more on Twitter than mouth breathers snore. He's Pete Fletzer, Star Wars nerd.
Yeah, certified daddy.
All right,
You just you have the energy.
Let's do this again when it's not a filler episode. Yeah.
Working on Rogue One and working on Mandalorian have been enormously satisfying for the Star Wars geek in me.
Hello and welcome to the very first episode of Star Wars: The High Republic Show.
Well, welcome to the super mega episode of Around the Galaxy, the Star Wars Fan Talk Show. I'm your host, Pete Fletzer. Thank you, everybody, for joining us tonight. We are going to have a good time tonight. We are joined by not one guest, not two guests, not three, but four guests on Around the Galaxy tonight. So just a little setup. Back in March, I was randomly doing some Twitter market research to see, what kind of guests people prefer to have on the show. Do you like authors? Do you like behind the scenes people? Do you like podcasters? And so I posted, and Ash Crossan, who had been on the show just a few weeks before, she checked in and she said, we should do a mega show with all of us, though. And I laughed, and then I was like, that might actually be kind of interesting. And so we did. I DM'd her and she said, yeah, no, I'm serious. We could do it. And I said, well, great. You're going to have to be on it. We'll do a best of. And then before you knew it, I had four guests lined up and ready to rock and roll. Three have been on the show before, and one I've been hoping to have on the show. And so I'm really lucky to have everybody here with us tonight. And so before I talk too much, let's start introducing our guests. Ash Crossan, how are you?
Hi, I'm great, Daddy Pete. How you doing?
I am so happy to see you here. I'm glad you actually, you decided to show up. No, I wasn't sure if you were serious, and then you were totally serious. How are things? How's life treating you? How's
life is good. I have to say my little dog is sleeping right here, so he's gonna make his hello, buddy.
His
podcast.
Say
hi, Miles. He will just be sleeping right here.
He's making his video debut. It's so nice to see him. Very good.
Hi, bud.
Oh, now he's like he's got a taste for it now.
Excuse me, was that a camera?
Awesome. Well, you were on February 23rd, episode 103, and look, you're back already. It's going to be a regular thing. You're going to have to become like my co-host. We'll do
Can't
this
stay away
every couple weeks. So next, I want to bring in Mr. Hal Hickel. Hal, how are you?
What?
What?
Hello.
Wait,
I have to wake up now.
How's it going?
Good. Thanks for having me back, Pete.
It's no problem. Thank you so much. You were with us in December of 2020, and
I didn't wreck your show. Apparently,
you didn't. So we've had a couple episodes since then, and so I'm not surprised though, because it was so much fun talking about it. As I said to you before we got on, the one thing that I think of most when I think of that episode was you let me go on and on about how much I love the Razor Crest, and then literally like a day later, within 24 hours, I watched it get destroyed. So I'm still not over that, I don't think.
I'm a sadistic SOB.
Well, I mean, what were you going to do? You couldn't give it away, but yeah, that was rough.
Yeah, I really couldn't.
So the next guest I have here is somebody who's been with us before as well. Oh, it's Clayton Sandell. Hello, Mr. Sandell. How are you?
I'm good. I can't breathe in that thing. How are you?
I'm excellent. How are you doing? How are things?
I'm doing great. We're here in Colorado, where it was like 70 degrees a couple days ago, and now, of course, I just took this picture out our back window. It is of course snowing.
Oh my gosh!
Again,
Wow.
That's Colorado for you, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
That is Colorado for you. Hal knows. Hal spent some time in Colorado as a kid.
Yes, I did. Up in the mountains, in the town of Shawnee. Yep.
Beautiful. And we have one more guest, and this is an exciting one as well. Krystina Arielle. Krystina, how are you doing? You have not been on the show yet, and yet you've decided to come in, and clearly you haven't spoken to Hal, Clayton, or Ash, and you decided, well, this would be, I guess I could do.
Is it a prank? Is there a
prank?
It
is it's a surprise party for you. We've put this all together. Just excited to have you here with us.
You were in cahoots
because we love the High Republic show. We love it so much. So, so for those of you who have seen the show before, normally it's a one-on-one sort of in-depth interview. We go for an hour or so, but we're gonna do this a little bit differently this week. We're going to, as people who watch the show and are familiar with it know, we do sort of a 10-question segment at the end of the show. But since 3 of these 4 guests have already answered those questions, I've put together a new list of 10, and some of them actually have come from some of our listeners. So I really appreciate that. So tonight's show, though, is 100% fun. I really kind of, one of the reasons I love the guests that are with us tonight is because it's reminded me what I love about doing my show. And it's just this sort of reminder that we love Star Wars, right? We want to have fun. So tonight's show is a controversy-free zone. It's going to be all fun all night. And so
just wait.
well, we're just getting started, right? So, so the first question is, why is The Last Jedi your favorite Star Wars movie? No, I'm kidding.
Ice foxes.
Ice fox, right? Why not? So, but no, we're going to do this as a panel, and we're just going to throw out 10 questions. We're just going to have some fun talking about them. But I do want to throw out the first one, and I'll throw it to Krystina, since she's not been here before. But when I say Star Wars, when you hear the phrase Star Wars, what's the first thing that comes to your mind when somebody just throws that phrase, those 2 words together at you? What's the first thing that comes to your mind?
A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. Ta-da!
Just like the big.
That's if someone says Star Wars, I zone out of the conversation. That starts playing in my head, and then I start thinking about, I mean. And I go into a deep dive on every outfit that Natalie Portman wore in Star Wars. And then I come back to the conversation and I say, what was the question?
Yeah, what were we talking about? Yeah, that's awesome. And what about you, Clayton? When somebody says Star Wars to you, what do you like? Where does your head go? What's the first thing you think of?
Just, you mentioned fun. I would say joyful fun, because I think we have talked before about how Star Wars implanted itself into my 4-year-old DNA very strongly, and just never let go. And so when I, just that so many memories of my childhood are Star Wars memories, and even as I got into my professional life and covering the news, a lot of times I was covering really terrible things, natural disasters, and humans doing bad things to each other. And Star Wars was always sort of this, like, if I got to do a couple of Star Wars stories every year, it was sort of this great kind of mental health reset to remind me what was joyful in life. And so yeah, joyful fun, really. And I think it is it's one of those things that having covered all of those disasters and bad things, it just gives you perspective on life, which is why I have fairly low tolerance for those that want to dump on the things and creators that are working under the Star Wars banner. So it's just I think it's a loss of perspective, and people need to remember how much fun this really is and what it means to people.
That's the clip for the show right there, and that's really super important. And I love that. That's why I do. One of the reasons I've been doing the show for 2 years is because I just love these conversations, and luckily I've gotten to speak to you folks before. And whether I'm talking to just a guy on Twitter that I've gotten to be friendly with and brought him on the show, or somebody like an Oscar award winner like Hal Hickel, just to be able to have those conversations and just be just share that kind of memory. Hal, what's the first thing that comes to mind when I say Star Wars to you?
Well, I'm with Krystina. The fanfare is the first thing that pops into my head. Title receding, Star Destroyer overhead. Those are the first visual and auditory things that jump into my head. Luke and the Twin Suns is always the moment for me in all the films. But to Clayton's point, there was some article or other I read somewhere that described the original Star Wars. Somewhere along in the article, it had the phrase 1970s rainbow suspender poptimism, and I was like, oh, that is right on the money. Like, that mid 70s, kind of like Great American Hero, Mindy and Mork, kind of upbeat adventure and fun, and so for me, that's what it is.
And that phrase alone, like, just brought back those black and white photos of Carrie Fisher and Mark Hamill and Harrison Ford, just like being goofballs on the set, and just that crazy 70s, like the big fluffy hats, and just having a ton of fun. That's great. Ash, what about you? When I say Star Wars, what kind of pops into your head?
Yeah, just combining everyone's answer, but I think of like the Fox fanfare, and then like the dip to black, and it's silent, and you're just waiting for like the logo and the music, and you're just like, it's the best feeling on the planet. I love that feeling. And then my brain goes into just this super cut of like my whole life and like things that Star Wars has done for me, and like friends that I've made through the community and the conventions and all of it. So I just love it. I love it so much.
Well, you actually lead really well into the second question, so I'll start with you. And what's your favorite sort of Star Wars memory, whether it's from being a kid or something that's happened, over time for you? Ash, what's your favorite Star Wars memory?
There's like a lot of professional ones that come to mind that I like really like pinch myself and I can't believe it. But if I think of just like what's like the reason that you're here, it's really just like, I remember they were re-releasing Star Wars in the theater, and my dad was just like, oh, we're gonna go see this like silly space movie, and I was like, I don't want to go. And I went to the movies 10 in Delaware, where your feet stick to the floor, and we were sitting in the front row because the seats are like flat, they didn't have like the stadium seating at the time, and I was like 10, so I was like, I have to be able to see. So we were in the front row, and I'm like this watching Star Wars, and it's like still the best moment of my life.
That's great. What about you, Krystina? What's the memory that you sort of think of when you think about your favorite Star Wars moments?
Oh, I mean, I think it has to be, I told the story on StarWars.com, but I was at the park one day and Donald Glover was at the park. I love Lando Calrissian. I remember, so my stepdad he was in this band called Tower of Power, and he was doing a show.
Wait. You just sort of like blow through that.
He just dropped
Tower
that.
of Power. Just, this little bit.
Ellis Hall, not Lenny.
Okay. But still, all right, awesome. Anyway, sorry, I'll let you finish. But Tower of Power.
So
I'm a bass player from the 80s.
Show,
so yeah, okay.
And Billy D. Williams goes to his shows. So I like went over and like got to like sit with him and was like, this is great, because I had gone to the Rogue One premiere, not as a guest, but on the other side, looking out for a walk with my family, just happened upon it. And I was like, I'm going to be there one day. And so then I go and I meet Billy D. Williams, who was my great aunt Cheryl's favorite. She was also my godmother. She passed away. We would sit and we would watch Lady Sings the Blues. We watched everything Billy D. Williams, and it was amazing. And then it was like, he's also the smoothest dude in the galaxy. Like, how do you top that? So then you fast forward, I'm at the park with my sister and her friends, and Donald Glover is at the park. And I was like, I have a Lando Calrissian cosplay. And he was like, I'd love to see it one day. So fast forward to that cosplay is what I wore to the Star Wars Solo premiere. And he walked up to me and was like, oh my God, hey. And then Billy D. Williams was like, hey. And so I had both of them like come up and like talk to me while I'm dressed as Lando. I got to talk to both Landos. Oh. And it was probably like the greatest moment of my life. And I also met my best friend, Jamie King, on the carpet that day. I was like, oh my gosh, she walks by and it's Aura Singh. But she's also like got this glow like shining down on her. And I was like, you're really pretty. And I was like, you look like you have great energy. We'd be great friends. And then we ended up becoming friends a couple months later. And then I was like, next time I go to a Star Wars premiere, I want to be on the other side of the carpet. And now I work for Star Wars.
How great is that? That's amazing. That is awesome.
Fantastic.
That's what I love about Star Wars too, is just this whole concept of bringing people together and just that sort of like my best friend. And I know I'm the host, not the guest, but my best friend and I, like, that's our thing. Like we were Star Wars nerds back before, back in the 70s and 80s, but that was our thing. Like we literally like traded action figures and stuff. That was the way it was. What's one of your favorite Star Wars memories? And you've worked on a bunch, so I don't know if they're related to it or if it's just comes back to your childhood or what.
Yeah, I mean, certainly seeing the first film in '77, the first time was a big deal for me. I was already making stop motion films then. I mean, kid stop motion films, so Super 8 camera, but I was into films and visual effects, at least on that side of it, the sort of Ray Harryhausen side of it. So, and I watched everything sci-fi and fantasy that was on TV or in the theater. So I was excited about the film. I knew about it ahead of time just from advertising. So, that was huge because when I finally did see it, it was really like nothing I'd seen before. But, and I've told you the story about the letter that I wrote and then getting it signed by George. So that was huge. But I have to say, I think probably aside from those two things, when we were working on Phantom Menace, and I was still pretty new at ILM. It was only my second year there, I think, when we started in on Phantom Menace. And I was Rob Coleman, who was the animation director, put me in charge of one of the characters, Boss Nass. And so we had some review or other with George where there was something he didn't like about one of the shots. And he used the word animation. Turns out that's not actually what was bugging him about it. It was something else, lighting or textures or something. But he had used the word animation somewhere in there. And so I was a little concerned. And as an animator, I wasn't talking to him directly. Rob Coleman, the animation supervisor, animation director on the prequels, was interfacing with George, and I was just in the room. So a little while after that review, 20 minutes later or something, I'm crossing the little campus there between buildings in San Rafael where we were at the time. And I saw George walking alone across there. And I kind of just, screwed up my courage, as they say, and crossed the parking lot and said, hey, I wanted to know what the issue was with the shot. Was it something with the motion or the performance or something else? And, which is a completely banal conversation to have while you're working on a film. It's normal.
Right.
But for me, it was the first time I'd ever spoken to the man. And I didn't know if I was even like out of place, because I was pretty new at ILM and I was just an animator. I was like, maybe I should have gone to talk to Rob, not gone right to George. But he was great. He was like, no. It's not the movement. It's the lighting and whatever. He was great. And it was like not even a thing to him. But to me, my heart's like,
pounding on your chest.
It was like a huge moment for me because it was the first time I actually met him. I'd seen him in company meetings or reviews or this or that, but I had not spoken to him until that moment. And it was just he and I, like nobody else was around.
Yeah.
So that was, for me, that was kind of a big.
That's awesome. That's
nerd moment. So,
it's one thing to be working at ILM, but to be like, to have that moment, especially because you didn't plan for it. You weren't like, okay, when I run into George across the parking lot, I'm gonna, it's fine. I
mean, I was stalking him from building to building.
Oh, sure. Right. You followed him home. It was weird.
As you do. Exactly. I was parked outside his house at 10 o'clock at night.
He was going to come out sometime. Clayton, what about you? What's your favorite Star Wars memory?
Well, earlier you said moments, so I can't narrow it down to just one.
All right, I'll give you multiple ones.
I'm going to take the liberty of doing more than one, but I think collectively, sort of professionally, everything surrounding Rogue One. It wasn't the first time I had covered Star Wars for ABC, but it was the first time that I had done so comprehensively, and we got to go up to San Francisco and do interviews with the cast. It is the first time I met Hal Hickel on the motion capture stage there at ILM. It was the first time walking through those doors. And during that few days, we went up to Skywalker Ranch. And so it was this, like, I joked that I had bruises up and down my arms because I kept pinching myself to all of these places and saw all of these things and met all of these people who I had, read about in like Cinefex magazine growing up, and just that. So everything surrounding that film was great, and also because there was this sense, and Hal would know more about this, but I got this sense that there was so much pride behind Rogue One internally, because this was a film that John Knoll had pitched and the original idea, and there were, everybody sort of came together to recreate a lot of the old ships, from the original film and in that era of Star Wars storytelling, and there was just this really wonderful, fantastic energy around all of that as it pertained to Rogue One. But if there was a singular moment that I could pick, it was probably finally catching up with my white whale, Harrison Ford, at the Rise of Skywalker premiere. He obviously is Han Solo, and then one of my other favorite movies, Raiders of the Lost Ark, was just somebody that. And we also had like mutual pilot friends over the years. And then the thing that really got me was my great aunt who lived in Jackson Hole, Wyoming. During the holidays, she would tell me these stories about running into Harrison Ford at the hardware store. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. You're running into Harrison Ford.
As you do.
Right.
As one does in Jackson Hole. And so yeah, finally, after all these years, catching up to him at the premiere and chatting with him for a few minutes. And I was so completely nerve-wracked and nervous about talking to him that I introduced him to my wife twice in the span of about 2 minutes.
Well, you don't want to forget that. I mean, you're introducing your wife to Harrison Ford. If you miss that and you don't do it, you will. Better to have done it twice than not at all, I think.
It's hard to recover from that. It really is.
It really is.
Yeah.
That's funny.
I have a question though.
Oh, please.
Was Callista Flockhart there?
Oh, good question.
Oh, he was by himself.
Stag.
I love that they're married. I'm sorry. It's like he's married Ally McBeal. I think that's so great.
The closest I ever got to Harrison Ford was meeting Marion Ravenwood at one of the Star Wars premieres in New York City.
Oh.
I can't think of her name. Please, Karen Allen. Thank you. And we were in line to get into Attack of the Clones, and she was behind us the whole time. She was with her son, and her son was playing with an action figure of some sort, and my wife was just like my wife didn't really even realize who it was. They were just chatting back and forth, and I was like, that's Marion from Raiders. And she's like, oh, okay. So that's great. And that's what's so cool too, is like there's just like such great actors that have kind of gone through Star Wars and moved through and gone through. I'm gonna skip around the order on my questions, but I went, since we're talking about actors, since we're talking about Harrison Ford, I'm gonna start with you, Ash, because I've let you be too quiet for too long. Okay. Name one actor that you would like to see in a Star Wars. One actor who's not been in Star Wars that you think would be sort of perfect to go into that world.
I have to name one.
I'm going to give you the choice. You know what? You can do two.
Let me elaborate. This is hard because I really like when it's somebody I don't know who they are. Like I love that. And like about Star Wars, it's kind of a thing. It's like these up and comers. You don't really know them. But if I could be really annoying, and I know people are so sick of this, but I want to see Sebastian Stan as young Luke so bad. Like when we were panning up in that episode of The Mandalorian, I thought it was going to happen. It was still great, but like I really wanted to happen. I also really want to see more Jessica Henwick. I know she was like in it, but I just want more of her. And then I was also talking to Louis Tan from Mortal Kombat this morning, and he was talking about how he auditioned for Shang-Chi and he didn't get it, and he was really devastated, and then he ended up in the Mortal Kombat movie, and I was like, I just want the world for him, so now I want him in Star Wars. And then like, Regé-Jean Page, he just left Bridgerton, and I'm like, what's up with that? Did he get cast in something?
Yeah, what happened there? Yeah.
I don't know. I have a lot of questions, but mostly I like to see, kind of like up and comers, the people that I wouldn't even think to say out loud, but I'm still aboard the Sebastian Stan train.
It's funny. I was not on the Sebastian Stan train until I started watching Falcon and Winter Soldier, and now every time I see him, I'm like, I wanted to pull out a lightsaber, dude. Let's do this. Yeah.
I need it.
What about you, Krystina? Who would you like to see in a Star Wars?
Okay. So I've thought about this.
I thought that was gonna play something.
No, you gotta hear me. I know it's like, okay. I want to see Angela Bassett as Ventress, because can you imagine just like the gravitas and the growl? And when you think about how she goes into that lower register in her chest and she just puts, oh my gosh. And it would just be the most graceful thing in the world, but also you'd be scared a little bit. And I think that that's exactly what it needs to be. And I would absolutely wholeheartedly lose my mind if Angela Bassett was in a Star Wars.
That is a great call. If for no other reason, because first of all, let's get Ventress in a Star Wars. Yes, please. And Angela Bassett playing her, just like you said, she's got a presence that's so unique. And it would just it would
she's the greatest actress to never win an award. Not an award. She's won awards, but she has never won an Oscar. And when you think about the fact that she has played Tina Turner, she played Rosa Parks, she played Betty Shabazz, like think about all of those fantastic roles. Angela Bassett is one of the greatest actresses of our generation, and she deserves every bit of her flowers, especially on American Horror Story, where she came out there and she owned it. I was like, you can slit my throat, girl. I will scream and clap with you. Like, doesn't matter.
That's fantastic. Hal, who do you want to see in a Star Wars movie?
You'll think I'm crazy, or maybe you won't, but I thought Anthony Hopkins. And I'll tell you why. Because he doesn't get to do light material very often.
Right.
I think people always think of him as Hannibal Lecter, and he's heavy and all that. But he's a terrific actor. He doesn't take himself too seriously, but he takes the job very seriously, and he can be quite funny. If you follow him on Twitter, he does all kinds of goofy stuff. He sings songs and dances and all that stuff. And I was watching one of his little things the other day, and I just thought, God, it'd be great. Maybe so fun in Star Wars. I mean, he could, whether he was an Imperial or a rebel or whatever he was, or something completely outside of either of those things. I think he'd be fantastic.
I think it would be cool to get him to add a little humor to an Imperial, because he with that accent and his presence, he would I could definitely see him in that uniform. But I also kind of see him doing it just not quite, Veers and Admiral Ozzel level of seriousness, just a tinge of slightly off, which I think would be fantastic.
Yeah, exactly.
That would be great. What about you, Clayton? Who do you want to see in a Star Wars?
So I was trying to come up with somebody that whose performances I had admired over in recent months and years, and also trying to come up with somebody who, to Ash's point, I think Star Wars is great when you have sort of people who are not famous, just right on the cusp of being famous, maybe have done a couple of things, but you wouldn't necessarily know their names. Mm-hmm. And somebody who just has completely blown me away in some of the things she has done lately is Wunmi Masako from Lovecraft Country. I don't know if you watched that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that was the best show. She played Ruby in Lovecraft Country, and that show and her performance in it and the sort of emotional weight that she carried in that show was just stunning. And then she was in a movie called His House, where she gives this monologue that just it sent shivers up my spine. So she has this presence and this power and this ability to just kind of morph into all sorts of very different characters in the roles that she plays. And I think she'd make a great villain. She'd make a good, rebel leader. I think she could do anything, but that's I'm going with Wunmi.
Awesome. I'm going to save this like couple minutes of a clip, and when one of these people ends in there, when Angela Bassett ends up in Star Wars, we're gonna get the called it first, and we're gonna own that.
That's why I threw out as many names as possible. Sam Neill,
right, covering every base. Yeah. Oh man. Yeah.
Mariska Hargitay, Toni Collette.
we got it all covered.
Actually, Toni Collette would be fantastic.
She understands the assignment. She
always.
She does. She definitely does. But it's interesting because Star Wars almost has become it's almost become its own genre. It's almost it's never been science fiction. It's never been just fantasy. It's funny. I remember when I was writing for Star Wars Galaxy magazine. I was at a if my dad's watching, he'll know. I was watching. He was there. I was doing a presentation at a science fiction convention at a little library. It was it was a very small kind of thing. It was very cool, and I did this whole presentation on the fact that Star Wars was the modern day myth. And I started, the very first thing I said was that Star Wars is not science fiction, and there were literally people in the back who got up and left because they were like, forget it. Now, of course, they probably now run websites that we like to make fun of, but it was just interesting because they were so offended by that. But it's interesting too, because I think one of the things that tells you a lot about a Star Wars fan, I can't believe I did air quotes, but one of the things that tells you a lot about a Star Wars fan is what their favorite non-Star Wars movie is. So let me start with you, Krystina. If you had to pick a favorite movie and take all the Star Wars out, what's your go-to non-Star Wars movie?
Oh no, because I have 3 favorite movies and they are very, very good. And it is I don't like, they're my children. And
well,
I can say them
here's
really
one
quick.
thing.
I promise I can say them really quick. They are
well, here's
fantastic.
one thing about Around the Galaxy that's really important to know is I ask for one thing, but I've never stopped a guest at one. So it's all you. Have fun. Go for it.
Okay. So the first one, there's this movie and it's called Dancing at the Blue Iguana, and it has Sandra Oh and Daryl Hannah and Jennifer Tilly. It's an amazing cast, and there's this really great part where Daryl Hannah has a secret admirer, and she comes in and she's like, "Oh, jewels! He bought me jewels!" And she's so excited, like throwing these jewels in the air, and she gets pulled over by a cop, and she's like, "It's in my wallet. It's the one that says bad motherfucker on it from Pulp Fiction. It's the movie that restarted Samuel L. Jackson, or she's like, it's a movie that restarted John Travolta's career." It's just this great scenes throughout the whole movie. Jennifer Tilly has a great scene where she's like, "I'm gonna have this baby and our kid's gonna sell drugs to your kid on the playground." It's amazing. Like, it's one of the best movies ever. So the second one is Freeway with Reese Witherspoon. It's one of her lesser known movies, but it's her and Kiefer Sutherland, and it's a modern day twist on the Little Red Riding Hood story. It is fantastic. Brooke Shields, all of these people, kind of like Bokeem Woodbine, who's amazing and will be amazing in Star Wars. It's just such a fantastic movie. And it's Reese Witherspoon legitimately at her best, like pre any Oscar contention kind of Reese, like just gritty and amazing. And it also has Alana Ubach, who's extremely underrated. She also played Mama Imelda and Coco. So going into my third and final, it is a little movie called Closer with Natalie Portman. It is one of the greatest movies of all time. I fought and scraped in my acting school to get the role that Natalie Portman had of Alice, and they did not want to give it to me, but I got it and I got to do it. And I was like, this is the greatest moment of my life. I never do this on a stage. This is the moment, because that is one of the most powerful, like, movies, just scene after scene of just like Clive Owen being amazing, Natalie Portman, Jude Law, Julia Roberts, all playing off each other in this like very closed one-act play style. Oh, it's just beautiful. It is a masterpiece of a movie, and I would watch anything with Natalie Portman.
I was actually introduced to Natalie Portman in The Professional, which I think is a frighteningly good performance, and everything she's done since then is fantastic. What about you, Ash? What's your favorite non-Star Wars movie?
Okay, everybody knows I love Mamma Mia, Here We Go Again, and Out Cold, Near to the Star Wars. My favorite non-Star Wars franchise, though, is Scream. I love the Scream franchise. I love the Scream movies. They are my absolute favorite. I watch them all the time. I love it. I cannot wait for the new movie. I know you want my Scream ranking here. I'm going to give it to you. It's kind of controversial if anyone wants to weigh in, but Scream 1.
Watch the chat. Here it comes.
Scream 1.
Right.
Scream 4, underrated. Fight me. Scream 2, Scream 3. And I only don't like Scream 3 because it takes place at the lot that I work at, and it kind of takes me out of it, especially when Jay and Silent Bob show up. So
Ash, is Scream Twitter as controversial as Star Wars Twitter? Are you?
Well, I think every fandom has like their thing.
Right.
I think I'm just not that deep into it that I have no idea. Because sometimes I'll say something and then somebody will be like, "Well, you know the script and blah blah," and I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about. I just watch Scream and play a drinking game, and it's bitching.
I mean, honestly, there are times where I wish I had that level of Star Wars knowledge where I could just be like, you can fight me on Geode or you could fight me on, but because I didn't realize that there was that much going on, but there's yeah, I love that. That's great. And who would have thought there's we just saw Blue Bantha Milk, some friends of ours from Australia checking in, saying there's a Scream 4. I didn't realize there was a Scream 4 either. This is
Scream 4 is really good. Scream 4 is very good. It's with Hayden Panettiere and Emma Roberts, and it's very good.
Aren't they making more Scream movies now?
Yeah, they're making a new one, and I believe, if somebody correct me if I'm wrong, the directors are the writers of Ready or Not, and if you haven't seen Ready or Not, that movie is fantastic.
It's so good. That movie is a gift.
So good. Oh,
it just keeps giving. Clayton,
she should be in? What's her name?
It's not Samir. It's not that's Samir Armstrong, who was on the OC. I'm thinking about Samara Weaving.
Samara Weaving, yes, she'd be great.
Awesome. That's now I'm gonna have to go back and watch the Scream stuff because I haven't watched them in years, so I'll check them out. Clayton, you mentioned Indiana Jones, but is Raiders your favorite non-Star Wars movie or
yeah, it is one of them. I think we actually, during the pandemic, actually not too long ago, when you could rent a theater at AMC for $100 and have 20 friends socially distance across the theater, we did Raiders of the Lost Ark night.
Awesome.
Which was a lot of fun. And it was one of those movies that, again, means kind of a lot to me as a kid, because we saw it so many times in the theater. Back when movies would stay in the theater more than 2 weeks, you could actually spend an entire summer going to the movies over and over and over and over again. And my sister and I did that a lot with my mom when we were young. So that will always have a special place in my heart. And I think you can still love it today, even though you probably couldn't make that movie in the same way that you did back then. But it still ranks right up there. And then it's sort of an eclectic mix. I'm a huge fan of the Royal Tenenbaums.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
It just that film speaks to me and my family and the experience, maybe more than it should. But it's the entire cast in that film just
top to bottom
knocks it out of the park. And then if I had to do a top three, I would say anything in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, simply because my kids love these movies, and there is always a perfect Marvel film to fit any mood that we happen to be in. So I would kind of probably rank that as my third, sort of anything in the MCU.
That's great. Yeah, my pandemic Indiana Jones stories. My son is 8, and it's funny. I didn't realize, I haven't thought about it much. He's been a Clone Wars and Rebels and prequels kid. He's gotten into the originals a little bit, but he's also, his Star Wars experience is the sequels in the theaters. So we're watching Raiders and over Christmas holiday, I think it was, and he goes, "That guy looks like a young Han Solo." Which was an interesting and astute observation. How about you, Hal? What's your favorite non-Star Wars?
Well, before I get to mine, I want to Clayton, I'm a massive Wes Anderson fan, so I hear you on Rushmore. And Krystina, Freeway is amazing. It's Reese Witherspoon's Winter Bone, which was,
Jennifer Lawrence.
Jennifer Lawrence's Freeway. Just amazing. Freeway is an amazing film. I have a big soft spot in my head for 70s era films, because obviously I was growing up then. Whether it's The Sting or Bullet or Star Wars. Anything but Star Wars. But the film that's settled in as kind of my top film, and it's partly about the film being excellent, but it's also partly because I remember my mom and dad coming home from the theater having seen it one night, and my dad talking about it, and that sort of primed me in a way when I finally did see it. Also, I'll get to the title in a second, but also you're all like, what's he,
No, this is
tell us what the film is.
Run with it, Al. Run with it.
Yeah. But also it's a film set in LA in a time. I like LA and Hollywood history. So I like the period that the film is set in, but I also like the period that the film was made in. So the film is Chinatown,
Mm-hmm.
and it's set in the 30s, but it was made in the 70s. I think it's just a brilliant film. I understand the director is obviously a problematic issue,
Right.
but I'm just talking about the film.
Sure.
On every level it works for me. The soundtrack, I forget who was doing the soundtrack, but they cut that person loose with like 2 or 3 weeks to go, and they brought in William Goldsmith, and he did not William Goldsmith, Jerry Goldsmith, and
Mm-hmm.
I was blending together William Goldman and Jerry, anyways, Jerry, and he did the soundtrack in like 2 weeks, and it's utterly brilliant. In fact, I think it was inducted into the, I don't know, Music Hall of Fame or something at one point, but it's just amazing. And the film, for me, every part of the film is like the cinematography, the acting, Jack Nicholson and Faye Dunaway are both incredible. Walter Houston. It's my pinnacle.
Yeah.
I can watch that film over and over again. It's dark. It's not a lot of fun. Although actually it does have some great humor in it. Nicholson's terrific in it. He makes me laugh, but yeah, that's my go-to.
It's interesting. And it's interesting you said that. And I did say this is a controversy free zone, but it's an interesting point that you bring up. And that is like films and actors and people involved in entertainment who turn out not to be great people. It doesn't, and this is thrown out to anybody who wants to pick this one up. Does it change the way you look at, like, for example, for me, I loved American Beauty. I thought that was such a great movie, but I look at it a little bit differently now. And
it changes it for me. I mean, I had an unalloyed joy watching Chinatown previously.
Mm-hmm.
Now there is a part of me that thinks about that and should think about that.
Sure.
I shouldn't be able to watch it without thinking about that. So yeah, that's at least that's my take on it.
Yeah. Interesting. Christina, did you want to say something?
Yes.
She's so polite. She raises her hand. She's like, I want to be heard.
First and foremost, there's a great Lucifer episode that was kind of an ode to Chinatown where they did, and everybody is transported, but they just tell it in the sense of just kind of a flashback story that he's telling the child.
Oh, I gotta check that.
On the other hand, as far as separating the art from the artist, it is a very complex issue, and it is something where, what do you do when the person you've idolized falls off of the pedestal that they've been placed upon? Do you continue to watch the art? Do you continue to support it? And I think that there's some conversation that says, oh, well, if that person is living, you're just continuing to put more money into their pocket. You're still supporting that person, whether you're like, so you stop watching it. I think it's extremely complex, and it's one of those things where we have to be mindful of, do we love the art more than the person that was hurt? And so it's finding those ways, because obviously that's a very awful, horrific situation, and it does take you out of it. It's kind of like I was watching the Versus the other day with the Isley brothers, and all of a sudden, like, they start playing Contagious. I used to love Contagious. You couldn't stop me from doing every single verse and like, what the hell is going on? Like, stop me from it. I'm sorry, I can't separate that from like the person that wrote it and sing it. Like, hurt children, and I can't separate myself and my feelings from that. As much as I would love to be like, no, girl, it's just a song. Like,
right.
I can understand that feeling of, I can't do that because it feels wrong to continue to do so. And obviously that's a choice that everybody has to make for themselves. Right. But it's just being mindful in the long run of what's more important. And there are plenty of artists that we can idolize, support, that are good people, that are considerate and compassionate people. There are extremely talented people that don't have years of hurt in their wake.
Yeah. That's amazing. That's great. Cool. Well, that's a great way to look at it. Ash, Clayton, you guys want to make a comment, or?
I mean, it changes it for me. You mentioned one film, and for me, the one that I absolutely loved, which I can't really get into now, is The Usual Suspects. So, but it does. You can't help but have it change the experience and the outlook. And I think Krystina made some great points about that.
Yeah. Cool. All right. So I'm going to bring it back to Star Wars. We veered off a little there. And Ash, you were just on vacation. We were talking a little bit about that before we went on. So this question is for everybody, but I'm going to start with you, Ash, because you were just out and having fun and enjoying life on a vacation. If you could go on vacation with any Star Wars character, anyone, who would it be? Who would you want to like just go and have a good time?
Well, I've been jonesing to go to Vegas. I want to go to Vegas so bad. I can't wait till we can all go back. So Lando and I are going to Vegas. We are hitting the roulette table. We are getting those giant frozen drinks from, what's it called? Fat Tuesday. We are riding the high roller Ferris wheel at the link together. We are hitting the chapel because why wouldn't we? And so that's who I'm going with. And obviously I'm going to come back rich because we are going to hustle. We are going to win money.
Yeah. Lando's either going to come back rich or having lost absolutely everything he owns, but he's going to have fun doing it.
Because we're going to get quite a few of those big frozen things, obviously. We're going to get the floater on the top and everything that they like to add. Yes. Do you want the extra Jello shots for $5? Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Keep them. What day is it? I don't care. I don't even know what time it is or where I am at this point.
I don't even know what time it is because there are no windows in this casino.
Oh man, Vegas.
I love Vegas.
And Lando was made for Vegas. He was.
Yeah.
What about you, Hal? You can go on vacation. Finally, you've gotten your vaccination. You're ready to go. You can go on vacation. You got to take a Star Wars character, or they're going to take you. Where are you going to go? Who are you going to go with?
I had exactly the same answer. It's got to be Lando. Lando, here's the thing. Lando, is on a first name basis with the best concierge in every resort across the galaxy. And he is a guy who appreciates luxury and refinement and fun. I mean, who else could you pick but Lando? Because he's going to know everybody.
It's true.
So yeah, I have to second that opinion for sure.
He's walking ASMR.
Ash and Lando in a hangout room where they lose Lobot.
Krystina, I'm going to guess you're going to say Lando as well. I mean,
no.
Oh, okay. I was so excited by your Lando stories from earlier. I thought this is where it's going. Who do you got?
No, I got reserves. So I am going on a girls' trip with Padme Amidala.
Right.
Let me explain to you why. You're gonna have the best security. I mean, you have stunt doubles to go and just walk around. It's like, no, girl, we're chilling. Nobody knows where you are. You could be on a planet that's on some giant estate. It's just the two of you, but you also have people there. Look at her hair. Your hair is going to look amazing every single solitary day. Her food is probably the absolute best. She's going to make sure you have the best time. You're going to get pedicures. You guys are going to get your face done. You're going to get the lipstick with a little line down the center. You're going to look your best. You're going to feel your best. And I bet there's some kind of super spa that she's got underground with personal hot springs. And you're like, oh, what? It is going to be just the height of luxury and also so relaxing. You are legitimately going to be able to just turn off and relax. And if you need something, it just appears. I mean, it doesn't just appear. It appears through lots of hard work done by people who are employed to do so. And so those are the things we have to think about also. But I would be very excited and I would be super thankful. And I would also bring lots and lots of cash for tips.
Hey, Clayton, can you top that? Do you want to even answer this one? Or you just...
Yeah, no, I cannot. I cannot top that. No, not even close. Because I also picked Lando for exactly the same reasons. He knows luxury. He's gonna know everybody, and he's gonna know exactly what drink to order in every single system.
Krystina's relaxing with Padme, and then gets a FaceTime from me, Clayton, and Hal, and Lando in Vegas. We're like,
listen. If I went with Lando, we would be on an island. We would be hanging out. It would be solo Lando. And think about it. But no, it'd have to be Billy D. Williams. Because think about that. You belong up here. Think about you want somebody that suave, that level of ASMR. He's going to compliment you the entire time. He might be a little fresh, but he's also going to be he's going to treat you like a lady. He's going to treat you like a lady. And he's also going to spoil you. And you're going to be like, what? Lando, you so sweet.
He's got no money left in his bank account, but you're wearing a beautiful ring and a nice dress because he's gone all in. He's pushed all the
I didn't make him spend it. That's free will, my dude. You think Lando's doing anything he don't want to do?
No. Now, it's funny. One of the questions from my regular show is, if you could be any Star Wars character, who would it be and why? And a lot of people go all over the place, but I go back to Lando for just that reason, because you know what? He doesn't know where he's going to be here today or tomorrow, and he's going to live like he doesn't know where he's going to be here today or tomorrow. And that's I think all of us, we all want to be Lando somewhere. There's something we all kind of want to do that. So I love
Fun
that
boyfriend,
answer.
Terrible husband.
Fun boyfriend, terrible husband. There you go. That's
I imagine these two entourages passing each other, like at some Star Wars resort. The Padme entourage and Lando entourage,
Somebody doesn't look tired and hungover.
But Lando somehow will end up as part of that party. I've gone to Vegas with people who end up in parties that you're like, how did you end up in this party? Because Lando would figure that out. Lando would be the guy who'd be there. He'd get it happening. So, I don't even know where to go after that, because that was a much more interesting question than I expected. Thank you to one of my listeners for sending that one in. That's an awesome one. But I'm just gonna skip through till I find another one. All right. So we talked about Lando a lot, and we do know that Lando's, Ash, I hope you're taking notes on my excellent skills at being able to bridge from one question to another. I think this is a skill that's really important, and I really want to work on it. But if we know that Lando's getting a series, we know that Lando's getting a spin-off series. Who and I'll start with Clayton on this one. Who would you love to see get a spin-off series that we haven't seen listed on Kathleen Kennedy's backdrop of beauty from November? What kind of character which character do you think needs a series?
I'm going to go with two characters, because in my show would be a buddy drama sort of show. And so for that, I am going to go with Dr. Evazan and
nice, Ponda Baba.
Basically, the premise of the show is that they would go around the galaxy, and Evazan would be, getting into trouble, spouting off, can't keep his mouth shut, getting into trouble, and that would sort of get them into these problems and plots where they'd have to, Ponda Baba would have to sort of help sort it all out at the end. And so it's sort of a good cop, bad cop kind of a dynamic going on, but they're basically just going around the galaxy, getting into trouble and mischief and all sorts of things. And every once in a while, just so you don't hate him all the time, Dr. Evazan would have to whip out what rudimentary medical skills he might have in his background to save, an Ewok choking on a bone or something. just to give him some sort of redeeming quality at the end of the day. But that would be my. I love that. I'll write that up and email Kat.
Right. Just we'll say Dr. Evazan and Ponda Baba in He Doesn't Like You. Thursdays, dropping on Disney Plus. There it is. We got it. Awesome. Ash, what series do you want to see? Who do you want to see?
1000% I want to see Enfys Nest. She's fresh on my mind because I'm watching Falcon and Winter Soldier, and Erin Kellerman is amazing in that show, and their characters are kind of like similar in a way, although she's taken a turn. But I would love to see that series is like staring us in the face. I'm surprised they haven't done it yet. Hal, like wink or something if you know anything. But I would love to see something explored with her. I love her.
Yeah, she was one of my, like, I see behind Clayton. He's got the Enfys figure behind her. Like that, I think she's one of the coolest looking armors. And when she took off that helmet, and she was just this young girl. She's so like you said, Ash. There's so much waiting to happen. For that.
I loved Solo, but the only like disappointment at the end of it is I just felt like I was like, oh, we're not getting like the next chapter of this. So no, I need to make them all series.
Make them all series. Krystina, who do you want to see?
Such a strong question. But if I could have any series, I would like a Dooku series. I would like to see the story of Dooku Jedi Lost brought in and stretched out, like given like the suspense. I think it would be absolutely fantastic, because also if we get a Dooku story, we get a Ventress story, especially in the way that it's told. We get
there's your Angela Bassett. I see where you're going.
Bringing it back. No, but think about how strong a story that would be, and just there's so much weight to Dooku, and shout out to Kevin Scott, who is the absolute GOAT. Really quick, fun fact about Kevin Scott. Kevin Scott wrote a book of Doctor Who quotes that is what I used to write part of my wedding vows out of. And I did not know of Kevin Scott in the Star Wars sense until I started working with him on High Republic. And then looped that back. In 2014, before I moved here, I needed a limited edition Death of Wolverine Canadian variant cover. So I had driven to South Carolina from Columbus, Georgia to pick it up. And that was written by Charles Soule, who is also another author on the High Republic. So it's another full circle moment. Just had to tie that in there.
Krystina, I'm gonna cut this little piece out of this interview and send it to you. So next time somebody's like, "You're not a nerd," you can be like, "Oh, watch this. I drove to South Carolina to get a Canadian variant cover of Wolverine. You're in." Like, that's awesome.
I literally could still to this day call my comic book guy, Patrick, in Columbus, Georgia. Shout out Columbus Comics. Go visit them and support them. It's the best place in the world. When I used to sell cars, I made it part of my test drives that I would drive by Columbus Comics and have people get out and would be like, "Oh my gosh, look at this. There's a comic book store right here." And it became that and going to get people to like come with me to get us. There was this really nice like shaved ice place. So we'd get shaved ice and we'd go to the comic book store. And then I'd be like, "Don't you guys want to buy this car?" And that was like my like big thing. And so he would order me like all of my special editions that I need, like when that Doctor Who Star Trek comics like crossover came out. It's really, really great. I get really excited. I'm sorry. It's really fun. But
you know, I'm gonna push. I love Ash and Clayton and Hal, but I'm pushing you guys. We're just gonna do the Krystina show here because she's just
please do.
Yeah, I'm happy to.
But
I'm an ogre. Ogres have layers like an onion.
You know what everyone else likes? Parfaits.
I love you, Duncan.
Oh man, so I don't know if I can ask Hal the question, but I'm going to. Who do you want to see other than
Hal, tell us the tea. Tell us.
Yeah, the guy that bought Luke's speeder on Tatooine. It's just a few years later they blow up the Death Star, and those. Luke had to become famous across the galaxy, and now he owns the guy's speeder. So he probably sets up a little mini museum there in Mos Eisley, like, come and see the speeder, Luke Skywalker speeder, it's here. So that could be interesting. Also, Gonk, the Gonk droid.
Right.
Like, what if every time you see the Gonk droid, because it's always like just wandering through the background of various scenes in like all the movies. Somewhere in every movie, there's a Gonk droid. Right. What if that was the same Gonk droid?
I love it.
And somehow or other, its crazy life path just took it through and intersected all these amazing historical moments in the Star Wars timeline, like Forrest Gump, right? Except it's a Gonk droid.
Forrest Gump. There.
Forrest Gump, exactly. Forrest Gump, yeah. Forrest Gump. And that's my pitch.
Hey. I don't know if you know anybody at Lucasfilm. You might be able to pitch that. I don't know if you.
Maybe work that up, or
maybe
you get me fired.
Up or something. Sure, yeah, one of the two.
Show us the pitch deck.
We want to see it. So, all right. Another kind of somewhat silly Star Wars question, but if you could own any critter from Star Wars, any little animal, and take it as a pet, maybe with you on your crazy vacation with Padme or Orlando. What critter do you think would make the best pet? And I'm going to start with Ash because I think I know her answer, but I'm going to throw it to her first.
I have to say it.
You do.
I have to say it. It's going to be a porg, although that's going to suck because I don't know if you ever heard them, but they're like, like all the time.
Wait a second. That was one of that was a fantastic porg impression. Like that was
my house.
You've been working a lot on that porg impression, I think. That was
my God. There's this clip I gotta send it. I gotta send it to you guys. I did it for Taika Waititi one time and he was like, "Oh, how annoying."
All right. So you're bringing a porg up.
Yep.
Unfortunately, I have a porg.
It is what it is. It is what it is. Clayton, who do you what kind of critter would you want to bring along?
This was an easy one for me, and it is a Kowakian monkey lizard, but not just any Kowakian monkey lizard. I want Salacious Crumb. I want Salacious Crumb in my house. And I will tell you that one of the...
Just laughing at you all the time.
Yeah, all the time. But, in The Mandalorian, when Mando is walking through the streets of Navarro, and there are these monkey lizards on the spit there being... That garnered quite a bit of it was traumatic. It was a traumatic moment to see them on the spit like that. And they are pets. They're not food. They're pets. And so I would go with the monkey.
All right. That's
you have no idea how I felt when Chewbacca ate that porg. Like that was
right. You hear me?
By the way, Ash, I didn't know you were a Frenchie mommy. I'm a big Frenchie fan. I love the Frenchies.
My baby.
Yes. Look at that face.
Yes, I am. They are so weird because they don't act like dogs. They act like pig cats, I would say. Like,
yes.
And he's been sleeping for 3 straight days. Like it's just not, that's all it is.
That's what I love about him. Like anytime you want a nap, they're down. They're like,
yeah. Big cuddlers.
Okay, yeah, now. Okay. Look at him. He's practically passing out.
How? Which Star Wars creature would you want to have as a pet? Because Frenchies don't exist in Star Wars, as far as we know.
Blurg. I want a Blurg. I want a big old Blurg.
There you go.
Ride it around, eat stuff. You know.
Need like an acre and a half. Yeah.
I want a Blurg. I like it. They're all like a giant fish on legs with a huge mouth, and they're great.
I love seeing them, watching some of the Ewok stuff that's back on Disney Plus, and just seeing the journey of the Blurg from like weird unwatched Star Wars special to mainstream Mandalorian.
Yeah. Phil Tippett said they called him the tadpole from hell back when they were making it, because they didn't have a name yet for it, but that's what they called it.
Tadpole from. Awesome. Krystina, what pet would you want from our Star Wars world?
First of all, the Ewoks are amazing. They were my first real foray into Star Wars when I was 4 years old, and I love them very much. I used to watch Saturday morning cartoons and watch the Ewok cartoon. They deserve all the respect in the world, because no matter what, you want to hug them and you love them and think they're fantastic. So I don't want to hear it. I bet you people are going to be rethinking it once they watch the Ewoks cartoon again, and they're like, oh my gosh, this has been in the vault, and now I feel really, really great about this, but I wouldn't have one as pets because they're too cute and they also have too much of a sentience, but I would have a Voltex.
We love the murder bears. We love them.
I would have a Voltex. He would be my little, think about it. So the Voltex, it's an ice fox, right?
Right.
So think about every time you're calling him, you'd be like, Mr. Freeze, I see you. And you could just make all of these puns all of the time. And it's just built in. Like, think about Mr. Freeze and Batman and Robin. I would do that all the time. And he would feel so loved, because he would know up. There's an ice joke coming, and she's doing that just for me. And think about it. When they bristled and had to go, it would look like there's a little light crystal light show in your living room.
You are,
and they can't sneak up on you.
No, they cannot sneak up on you.
Tinkling sound all the time. So
I love that sound.
The sound is great, and they would be like a little disco ball that lives in your house. You could you'd always want to have a flashlight ready just to kind of aim.
Trained on them.
Yeah.
And imagine if you have a disco ball and then you put lighting in your house and it would bounce off of it, and it would be amazing. And everybody in your house we had a dance party at 11:30 the other night, so let the kids stay up late to watch a movie. And it was like, oh, you know what we should do? We should have a dance party. And imagine how much greater that dance party would have been if you had Prince and you had a disco ball fox.
I think that's the perfect world right there. You just named the perfect opportunity. That's
call me Hannah Montana, because I'm getting the best of both worlds.
Well, guys, we are coming down the home stretch. I have 2 more questions, and I could go for hours with this. This is so much fun.
Let's hang out.
Hey, all right. Hey, what are we doing? What else? I have 2 more written questions, but who knows what the hell is going to come down the pike here? But I've asked every one of you, other than you, Krystina, because you haven't been on the show yet, which we're going to make happen. But I've asked you what
guilt coming out of there, guy.
Yeah, I'm going to work that. I'm going to work that as much as I can. But I always ask what your favorite collectible is that you have in your collection, but what I want to know is, what is one thing that you want? Imagine that money is no object, any sort of collectible that you could have from Star Wars. What would you want? And I'll start with you, Krystina. Not that one.
Okay. So my favorite thing that I do own is my little BB-8 that follows me around the house. And I think that he's great. And he was part of my first actual like Star Wars cosplay when I did Rey. I got to hold my little BB-8 and wear my little Rey buns. But the thing that I do not have, because I always said if I was going to do it, I was going to do it right. And I've been saying this for years, was like when I have the disposable income to do so, I do not have a lightsaber. And I want one, but I do like, I want it to be at a point where I was like, if I'm going to have one, I'm going to have one. And so like when you see it, you will know that this is like, there is a fund and I'm excited for it and it's going to be legit. But like, that's just the reality of the world that we live in. Can't really throw like 300 bones on a lightsaber, but one day I'm gonna do so, and it's gonna be great. And I'm really looking forward to having multiples to hang on my wall.
Are you going to do like a custom one, or is there a particular character's lightsaber that you want?
Oh no, like if I'm doing it, it's pink, bro. Like it's gonna be pink. It's gonna be fantastic. And just because it's pink doesn't mean it's not deadly. It's gonna be baller. I would get purple, but I feel like that's disrespectful to Mr. Jackson.
That's true.
So I'm gonna let him have that. But I really do. I would have a pink one, and I do actually like the yellow lightsaber. I think it's very nice. But I want the light to look legit, like super authentic. I used to go to this bar with a friend of mine who was a big Star Wars collector, and they had two that were just at the top of the bar in this like dive bar. And he would just let me like run around. And so I didn't have one, but I did have an app on my phone when I worked at Hooters, and it was that Star Wars lightsaber app. And I would run around I would go to all of my tables. I met one of my best friends who I still call Sky Guy, and he calls me Snips. And I would go up to tables while I was working, and I'm not going to flirt with anybody. I'm like, people expect that, but it's not what happens. What I actually did was have really great nerd debates with my tables, and I'd pull out my lightsaber and just like with my phone, and it was great. And I also really love that that's just the sound of like a reel and the okay, never mind.
That's awesome. Clayton, you have a whole wall full of stuff behind you. What's one thing that you want that you don't yet have?
Another thing that I would love to have, which oddly enough I had when I was a kid, but then there came this point where I wasn't playing with my Star Wars toys as much, and my grandmother at the time had a daycare that she ran. And so my mom was like, why don't you, you're not playing with this stuff. Why don't you donate it? I'm sure the kids would love to play with it. And so I did, and never saw it again. And that is the like 4-story Death Star play set
yes.
with the trash compactor in the basement with all the little pieces of colored foam in the bottom.
Yep.
And then it had like the corkscrew, and it would pop out the other end, and the big cannon at the top. And, so yeah, that might be something I would add. But every time I've seen them at like Celebration, they're always like $600-$700, and it's like, I don't want it that bad.
Yeah, it's nice, but I don't want it that bad. Yeah. It's funny. Before, when I was talking about how me and my best friend used to sort of trade action figures and stuff, he had that Death Star, and I was always just like, oh, I wish I had that. But I had the Falcon, so we balanced each other out.
That's cool. I never had a Falcon, so that's cool.
Ash, what about you? What's I know you're not a big collector, but if you could have any sort of Star Wars collectible that might fit well in your house
with my plants. Honestly, I just anything from like the Mandalorian set. I know that's like highbrow, but like money's not an option. So I have something from the Mandalorian set, because I feel like that show in particular is like some of the biggest highlights of like my career. It means so much to me, like hosting the premiere, things like that. So like I could have a pebble that Pedro Pascal stepped on. I do not care. I just want something from that set. And also I need to get something for my dad. This is like very important, but I need so he has like a Piper plane, like a plane. And he wants to put like an R2-D2 head on the back of the plane. And so I have to figure that out, because I don't know what I'm doing. So if anyone's watching and you're like, oh, I know how to accomplish that, just like hit me up, because I gotta figure that out. He signed that to me.
That's your thing. So at Ash Crossan on Twitter,
please help me get a thing for the
R2
back
head.
of my dad's plane, and then a pebble that Pedro Pascal stepped on.
Hal, maybe you can help her with the pebble, but what about what do you want to add to your collection that you don't have?
I'm all about robots, and my office is full of robots. Tin toy, a lot of old tin toys, but then plastic figures and things. And at work, I've seen quite a large version of the Probot from Empire Strikes Back, the Imperial Probe droid.
Yes.
And I don't know who made it. I don't know if it was Sideshow or whatever. It's been at the company for ages now. It's just it moves around. I'll see it in one conference room and another. It kind of gets shifted around. But every time I see it, I'm like, God, I want one of those. It's such a beautiful version of it. The other thing, and this is a little bit like when somebody says, "What's your favorite ice cream?" and somebody says vanilla. But I've got a 3PO that I love, and it's a Sideshow thing, and it's metal. It's really beautifully made, 6 scale. And I need an R2 to go with it. And Sideshow has them. They're great. It's not like some rare thing that I can't get. I just need to prioritize it and decide that's what I want to spend the money on. But that's the next thing. That's the next, because my collectible buying kind of slowed down when I had my son, but he's 20 now. So I can kind of buy stuff for myself again.
Now. That's right.
and so that's probably the next thing I'll spend money on is a 6 scale R2 to sit next to that 3PO, because it's
I'm thinking if that Probot is moving from room to room, they might not notice if it goes missing. So I mean,
sure. Plus, a year of pandemic, working from home, who knows what happened to it, right?
Yeah.
Who knows what the cleaning service took out the door?
Someone
you
coughed on it.
Part out, right?
We got to take it home and sanitize it.
Exactly. I'm just keeping it safe. That's all.
Absolutely.
Keeping it safe.
Absolutely. That sounds fair.
Service to the company.
I think they'd appreciate that extra mile. So, so the last question here, and we'll just throw this out to anybody. We can debate this as much or as little as you like. We need to make a Mount Rushmore of Star Wars characters. So I want you each to pick a Star Wars character that would be on the Mount Rushmore of Star Wars, and sell me on why that character needs to be etched in stone forever on that wall. Who wants to jump in first on this one?
I have an answer, but it's a short answer, Hal.
I can't do it.
Pete. Yeah. Hal, Pete, whatever.
Darth Vader.
Darth Vader. That's I mean, Anakin's been. So you're talking
I have to make a case for Darth Vader.
No, you don't need to make a case. I don't think
it's not a bad answer.
Who is he?
There are 4 heads traditionally. Doesn't mean we have to stick to that, but there are 4 heads traditionally. So you'd think, Luke, Leia, Han, Chewie. But I have to say, Darth's helmet and mask would look so incredible carved in stone. It'd be such an amazing thing. So I can't argue with that too much.
There's never really every sculpt, every 3D representation of that helmet is always impressive to look at. There really aren't any true bad ones out there. So
I think the Black Series helmet that I have, I love it. Like it's one of my favorite helmets that I have on this wall. It's one of those things too that ever since I saw it when I was 7 years old and he entered the 10th V4, I was just like, I need to own that. I need that. So I think we can all agree definitely on that. But we need 3 more. And I'm looking at Krystina who's smiling. She's got somebody in mind. Who do you got?
So I'm basing this on a character that not many people can say a bad thing about. They're brave. They're noble. They've made lots of things happen behind the scene. And it would be really great to see Wedge Antilles get his moment.
Oh, there you go. Wedge was going to be my answer to which character needs a series. So yes, I am fine with Wedge. Wedge has been, as you were saying, Krystina, he's been there for every victory. He's been there. Yeah, he's always like the second fiddle, but maybe he deserves his place in stone on a giant mountain in Wyoming or wherever it is.
Are you saying we should wedge him in?
Oh.
And that's time. Oh,
look, we're out of time. Thank you so much.
I guess our Mount Rushmore is going to have a wedgie.
Oh man. All right. So we got, anybody want to say no to Wedge? Because I'll put him up there. I'm fine with that. Okay.
You get books, you get actual series. Think about it. When I went to go see Rise of Skywalker, in that moment, every single person in the theater, it was a beautiful, beautiful moment, and like to have that much agreement, I think it's canon.
All right, so we got Vader, we got Wedge. Who's number 3 on there? I'm going to throw it to Ash. I'm going to put a little bit of pressure on Ash and say, who do you think is number 3?
I don't know. I mean, 3PO is a 9 saga film champion, so that's like
true.
That's pretty good, and he would look really nice.
I did not expect. I love that this conversation has gone to who's going to look best up there.
We're thinking art direction.
He's even more than 9. He was in Rogue, so he's even 10 films.
Oh, 10. I'm going with Hal Hickel.
Clone Wars.
Vader, Wedge, and Hal Hickel on the wall. No.
Makes sense. Not George, not any number, but not me. Yeah, sure.
George had whatever. He threw it out there and people ran with it. That's
you'd have generations of tourists going, "Who the fuck is that guy? These guys and that guy. Who is that?"
You satisfy a lot of crowds if you make it a deep cut that they can only be like, "Well, of course you don't know who this is." Actually,
I know who that is.
Yeah, like think of.
Or you could have an anonymous Boston. Right? They played a big role.
Right.
Where's their recognition?
Many of them died to bring us this information. So, yeah.
That's true.
All right, I'm going to bring this back because that's the way I am. I think so. I'm sorry, Hal. I would love to put you on there. You're in a Mount Rushmore for Around the Galaxy guest, but probably not. Up there. So, but 3PO, I got to say, 3PO is not a bad call. I mean, he's not my favorite droid, but I think he kind of makes sense. He was he had the first line in all the Star Wars movies, right?
That's right.
And
and like he had this red arm one time.
Technically, R2 has the first line, but
it's true.
Close. First line in English.
The first understandable line by people who are not protocol droids. Okay,
we have a yearly trivia party at ILM every year. That's a fundraiser. And one year George was there, and that was a trivia question, and the answer was 3PO, and he argued with the answer because he was like, no, it's R2, it's R2, because he said I wrote dialogue, English language dialogue for all of R2's scenes, and they got turned into beeps and whistles later, but technically,
did he tell you what the line was?
I wasn't even there. I've heard the story, but
that's a great story.
Yeah, I think he knows what the line was actually, but I don't.
If I can get him on the show, I'll ask him. I'm pretty sure he's. I'll line him up. But I love that. Imagine being actually by George Lucas. 3PO.
You accept it and move on.
Yeah, right. You
exactly. Yeah. There's no.
All right. So we got Vader. We got Wedge. We got 3PO. Who wants to throw out a fourth?
Dennis Muren. I'm just gonna put Dennis Muren out there. I love Dennis. He's a great guy, and he's got as much to do with Star Wars as any of the other old school ILMers. So I'm voting for Dennis Muren.
Okay.
I'm just shoehorning at it.
We'll wedge him in there.
There's no Star Wars without the effects.
This is true. But I'm not gonna let that be it. We need a fourth character. Dennis Muren may be a character. It's gotta be Luke, right?
Luke,
I mean, who else is it going to be? I was waiting for somebody to say Luke.
I feel like it could be
Leia.
It could be Leia.
Leia.
We do need,
Well, there is a gap in the existing Mount Rushmore. So let's say we could wedge in another and have 5.
I think we put the twins in there. Right.
Absolutely.
You got their dad and you got the kids and their annoying robot and
where's their mom? They wouldn't. Excuse me.
Yeah, it gets.
Where is the mother? Where is Padme?
K2SO. Come on.
Luke, Leia. She has a lot more contributions to that. Think about it. Think about one of the greatest lines in all of the prequels. So this is how Liberty dies, with thunderous applause. Padme Amidala deserves her due, and if you go and you back and you watch Tartakovsky's Clone Wars, you have an even greater appreciation for her. She is an amazing character. She's strong-willed, senator, queen, badass. There would be no general without the senator and the queen.
All right, so we're putting Padme up there. We're putting Luke.
All right, so we're putting Padme up there.
Our Mount Rushmore. We're gonna go with a bigger mountain. We'll just pick bigger mountain because you can't.
We could pick like 4 from each movie. That would be like doable, but I can't do just 4 across the whole board. It's impossible.
It is tough. It is not.
You need a mountain range, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Then you need an Avar Chris or buckets of blood.
Right, and then you start getting. Next thing you know, I can't believe nobody's made a Geo joke so far in this whole Mount Rushmore conversation. I was counting on you.
That's my favorite Ventian. Listen, I will do you want my Geo joke? Because I have one at the ready. What kind of car does Geo drive? A Geo Metro.
I don't know if that was worth waiting for, Krystina. I've been
Geo Metro.
No, I know where you're going with it, but it's
that is gold, man. It's gold.
It just got cold in here. It was warm a minute ago. I don't know what happened. It just
so Ash, from my that definitely is, that's not what you do as a host for a show, is to shoot down the joke of the guest. Okay.
No.
Pull that one back. All right, I'll remember that for next time. But hey, so guys, you guys have hung out for 80 minutes having a good time talking about Star Wars. I really appreciate you putting this together with me and volunteering to spend some time with me and the fans of the show. And just really, this has been great, because honestly, Star Wars Twitter is a hellscape. There's been just so much negativity sometimes, and you just got to remember that just this crazy conversation we had for an hour and a half, this is people hanging out at a bar talking about Star Wars and just picking on the stuff that we love. And this has been just such a blast for me. I can't thank you all enough for being a part of this. Let me take it from the top to the bottom. Give me where we can find you, Krystina, on social media. I think people know where to find you, sadly. But yes, we know where to find you, Krystina. Where can we find you to keep up with these puns and whatnot?
Hi, my name is Krystina Arielle. You may know me from such things as Star Wars, The High Republic Show, also a bunch of stuff on the internet. But if you really, I'm going to say this, if you really want to get to know me as a person, but in a character, go and watch Pirates of Leviathan on Dropouts Dimension 20 and meet Barbarella Sarsaparilla Ganglin, because she's going to be your favorite person in the whole entire world. And it explains the wings, because I am playing an angel. So go watch that, because I'm extremely proud of it. It was a character created out of a really sad time in my life, channeled into art. Go and find me on Twitter and Instagram at Krystina Arielle, Krystina Arielle. Make sure it's this face, because there's another Krystina Arielle out there. Who knew?
Who knew? Thank you. Hal, where can we find you in the interwebs?
Hal Hickel. That's it. On Twitter.
That's it.
Google me.
That is the entirety of my social media presence.
What else do you need? I think that's pretty solid. Clayton, where are you hanging out these days on the social interwebs?
Well, first, I just want to say this was an honor to be with these A-listers here. This is really fun. So thanks for asking me. But you can find me on the Twitter at Clayton_Sandell and Instagram at Clayton Sandell. And finally, you can take the guy out of the news business, but there's been some news here in the last couple minutes that the Visual Effects Society, Hal, maybe you know this already, just awarded The Mandalorian Outstanding Created Environment in an Episode commercial real-time project for The Mandalorian, The Believer.
Congratulations to my cohorts.
That's amazing.
That category. That's fantastic.
That is great. Awesome. Ash, where can we find you on the internet?
Yeah, just echoing Clayton here. It's been an honor to be up this side alongside you guys. I'm a big fan of every single person here. And you can find me at Ash Crossan on the Twitters. That's where I post everything. And I did so many interviews today. So if over the next 2 weeks you see me wearing this exact outfit and look, it's because all the interviews happened today. But I have some really, really exciting ones. Aren't Star Wars related, but I would say Star Wars adjacent that I'm very excited to roll out. So yeah,
that is awesome. Well, thank you again, everybody. This is what Star Wars is all about. It's hearing from the people who are close to it. It's talking with people who make it close to them, like myself, who just love Star Wars. It's been a part of my life since I was 7 years old, and it's Around the Galaxy has been just so much fun for me to do for the last 2 years. It's coming up on 2 years in a couple of weeks. And please follow us on Twitter at ATGcast to keep up with Around the Galaxy and all the fun and interesting stuff that's coming up with the show. And Guys, thank you again so much. This was fantastic, and I hope to talk to you all again sometime in the near future. Take care.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you.
See ya.
Later. Have a good night.